destiny.
I'm so glad you're still alive. I thought I'd never see you again.
Okay, pal, let's do this!
Right on the tail of their success with the recent released Monster Hunter Rise, Capcom is poised to hit a knockout 1-2 combo with the next entry in their other monster slaying series, Monster Hunter Stories. Set in the same universe but filled with distinctive qualities that make it entirely its own, Monster Hunter Stories 2: Wings of Ruin breaks the mold in a way that feels fresh and exciting, without ever alienating long-term fans of the franchise. Don't fret if you miss the first installment of director Kenji Oguro's Pokemon-esque adventure. The tale told in Monster Hunter Stories 2 stands on its own, with only sporadic callbacks to the original using a few familiar faces. In fact, having prior knowledge of the intricacies found in the mainline Monster Hunter titles is infinitely more beneficial than experience with the first entry in its spin-off series. So much of what you'll utilize during quests will be instantly recognizable for veteran hunters. Bombs, traps, elixirs, bugs, and a manifold of other familiar items will aid you along the way, and knowing what these things provide made the opening hours that much more enjoyable. While the world building remains on par with its big brother, Monster Hunter Stories distinguishes itself in two key ways. The first being the story itself. This has never been a franchise prone to winning awards for its writing. I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone that could explain what the hell has been going on all these years. But of course, that's never been the point. This is a series about carving up the biggest, baddest beast you can find and turning them into blades and armor and guitars. And that is still very much what's going on in Monster Hunter Stories 2. Only now there feels to be a deeper meaning behind what it is you do. You play as the descendant of a legendary rider, named Red. Rathalos have suddenly vanished across the world, and it's not long before you come across a curious Wyverian girl named Ina, carrying a Rathalos egg and on her way to Ruto Village, the same village in which Red forged bonds with the Wyverians. You decide to accompany Ina on her journey. Upon your arrival, the egg hatches, and what comes from within is prophesied to bring ruin upon the world. The narrative isn't going to knock your socks off, but it does act as an engaging backdrop to the second of Monster Hunter Story 2's unique elements, the turn-based combat system, which, coupled with a creature catching mechanic that will have you feverishly attempting to hatch them all, Monster Hunter Story 2 ends up doing Pokemon better than, well, Pokemon. A rock paper scissors style contest is at the heart of Monster Hunter Stories 2 combat. You and your aptly titled Monsties fight side by side using a variation of power, technical, and speed attacks. Power beats technical, technical beats speed, and speed beats power. Anticipating your opponent's move and countering with the right defense is key to victory. Things are further complicated when you also need to determine which weapon is best suited for your battle. It's a winning formula that gets progressively more difficult, rewarding players for taking the time to learn the statistics of each enemy. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention some of the absolutely incredible battle animations that Capcom created, specifically when making use of combination attacks. But for as well developed as Monster Hunter Stories 2 is, it isn't without question limited by the hardware it was developed for. Severe lag permeates the home areas, at times making it difficult to even look at the screen. When you're out in the wild, things generally run as smoothly as they can on a glorified Nvidia tablet from 2017. Though venture into parts of the map that have a slew of NPCs and assets about, and the game quickly starts to fall apart at the seams. I won't fault it for not running as well as the recently released Monster Hunter Rise. However, as Monster Hunter Stories 2 is a massive open world, akin to Breath of the Wild, it does the best it can, and I'm okay with that. In addition, the tutorial could have been fleshed out a little bit further. I'd imagine newcomers might feel a bit overwhelmed, But then again, that's how I felt about every Monster Hunter game. Maybe that's what Capcom wants, to only equip the player with just enough to get their feet moving. From there, it's on you and bettering yourself through true experience, as opposed to experience points becomes the soul of your journey. If that's the case, it's here that Monster Hunter Stories 2 and traditional Monster Hunter games become indistinguishable. Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin is the perfect example of a game I didn't know I needed. It scratches the itch that Pokemon hasn't been able to touch in years, all the while setting itself apart from the influences it drew from. While it may be limited in certain aspects by the Switch itself, there's no denying that this is one of the best games for the system in 2021.